time I went up for the roles, which ranged from everything from a cop to a this, I ended up booking a character that was a southern diamond dealer. But I kept going up, and every time I would go up for the roles, the majority of the time I'm up against men. And 50 different people, all different shapes, sizes, colors, everything. So it's a completely different world than it was before. You know, it's very competitive and very difficult to book anything nowadays, which is why a lot of actors and actresses have to diversify. So, but that was a fun show to work on. And what did I do? I did NCIS, which was very nice people. Recently I did 911. I played Angela Bassett's boss, the chief of police in Los Angeles. And I got to keep the badge accidentally. So that has come in handy, because there were some kids the other day that were smoking pot right down the street in front of my house and sort of drag racing up and down. So, you know, it's dangerous. There's kids in the neighborhood and everything. So yeah, I went there. I was going out to run some errands anyways. I pulled out of my car, you know, and I've got an SUV, so it looked kind of, you know. And I pulled up next to them and I pulled the badge out, you know, and they're token away in the car. And I said, listen, I don't, you know, I'm off duty, man, but I just want to warn you that a lot of cops live in this neighborhood. They got out of there so fast. Never saw them again. So that was, you're not going to show anybody this film. Right? I mean, that's illegal. Impersonating a police officer. I didn't actually say I was a police officer.
You were acting.
What?
You were acting.
I was acting. I was acting. And I was on my way to return the badge to Fox. There you go. Oh, yes, sir.
You did an episode of one of my favorite shows, Grimm.
Which one?
Grimm.
Oh, Grimm.
What was it like to work on Grimm?
Grimm was everybody was really nice, and we shot in Portland, which was just a lovely place. My brother was living there at the time, so it was especially fun for me. So I had a good 4 days there. I mean, even though my part was really small, I guess they chopped up my scene, so it was lovely. Everyone was very nice. I didn't really watch much of that show. Not even the episode I did, but it was a great concept. But I don't watch myself on TV. That's just weird. I've seen 2 seasons of Babylon 5, and I blogged about it, actually, and then I just kind of I felt very self-indulgent sitting down with a piece of paper and watching myself and making notes going, oh, that guest star was marvelous. This is okay, the fans might like it, but this feels really weird. You know, it's funny because I do know people who have whole, you know, walls of fame, every photo and poster they've been in, every movie and everything. I've given everything away. All my memorabilia. I have one little doll of my character in Atlantis, the Disney film, and one little Ivanova doll. And that's about it. Stormtroopers! And lightsaber lady. Well, you're dressed up as Luke? What?
I'm a Jedi.
Oh, you're Jedi. What, isn't Luke Skywalker? Now you really see that I know nothing. Yeah, he's a Jedi. He's the Jedi. Yeah. Don't mess with my Star Wars knowledge. What? What did you say?
Skywalker isn't a Jedi anymore because he's dead.
Oh, you just spoiled the whole thing for me! Now I can't watch any of the movies! Alexandra! How many times do I have to tell you? You do not tell a neophyte anything. That's like my friend said, oh, did you see the new Avengers movie? She was about to spill the whole thing, and I said, you know what, someday I'm going to watch it on my Kodi, where you steal films for free. Sorry, did I say that? I'm sorry, you buy a little Apple Fire Stick and you just plug it in, you got movies. That was great. I'm acting. I am acting. There's no truth to this. There's $79.99, it's a deal. There's no truth to
We'll
this.
flash the not endorsement.
No, that's an endorsement. And I didn't install it myself. I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. Anyway, thanks for the spoiler. Luke is dead. Great. I liked him. Mark Hamill's wonderful. Jeez, Louise, you just ruined my day. Yeah, yes, sir.
Is there anybody you want to look forward to working with in the future?
At this point, anybody, I gotta keep up my insurance, man. No, you know, I have to be honest. I've been doing this since I got my first series in 1983, so it's probably before lots of you were even born. About 8 years ago, I decided to devote my time to my nonprofit, and I made a documentary and I wrote a book, and then I started getting into writing fiction, and I have a wonderful writing partner, and things just sort of, put it this way, I stopped being upset that I wasn't getting as many auditions as I used to. But the truth of the matter is, the last audition I had was 911, and I booked it, and I have not had an audition, and that was December. So it's really hard to get work when you don't have the auditions. And my agents were quite honest with me. They said, you know, it's the fact that you're in your 50s and you're Caucasian. So it's just the way the business is going right now. And that's great. It's fine. I have other things to do. I feel sorry for my friends who can't get an audition because they rely on acting. I don't. I've diversified in my life. So to be honest with you, would I like to be on a series? Probably as a recurring role. That would be amazing, because then I could do everything. I could do that, and I could run my nonprofit, and I could still counsel people, and I could still write my books, and I could still keep up my insurance and make a little dough. That would be perfect. So you asked who I would like to work with? I don't care. As long as it's a decent role, I don't care. You know, I'll play the cop and the FBI agent, or I'll play the crazy lady, I'll play the mom. You know, it doesn't matter, as long as it's union. That's all I care about. And as long as recently they wanted me to go for this series for the Cartoon Network, and it was so bad. It was so bad. The writing was so horrendous that and they pay peanuts. I just said, it's not. No, I'm not going to go up for something that I'm not going to legitimately want to do. So there's that. And in the meantime, I do these games: World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Devil's Paw. I just did. Tons of games. So that's fun. And I get to work with different directors, and I get to go to the Blizzard conventions and all that stuff, and it's a whole different world. In fact, right now I'm writing a gaming cookbook. So, because I love to cook, that's my other passion. I've made cooking shows, and so it's all tied together. But yeah, I mean, I'm not one of these picky people. It's just if it's really crap, I'm not gonna go for it, because it's a waste of my time, unless they're paying a lot of money. Then yes. But Winston Churchill had that great comment, right? I won't say it out loud. You must know that. We all have a price, but it was a little more vulgar than that. Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
How is the preparation and routine different, if at all, between getting ready and working on a film versus TV?
What is the preparation difference in prepping for a film or TV series? None, in my opinion. Plus, TV series are like films. Look at the series Sherlock. They're an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes each. That's a film. I mean, the quality of scripts and everything. I just noticed this person with the thing. Is that hot? Yeah, you. No, you're fine. Okay. Just stay hydrated, buddy.
Don't worry.
All right, just worried about you. That's all.
I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Yeah. No, there's no difference in preparation for television nowadays and film, and there wasn't when I was doing it in the 80s. If I did a movie, films, you usually have more time to memorize your lines. I mean, if I book a guest lead on a Wednesday, I usually go immediately into wardrobe and probably start shooting that Friday or Monday. So you need to learn your dialogue faster. So in films, you usually book ahead of time, and you have like a good month of wardrobe and meeting everybody and reading through the scripts, and it's a more luxurious process. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
You were in The Hidden. I love that movie.
Yeah, we had a whole hidden discussion that you missed because you weren't here, sir.
sorry, I was a few minutes late.
A few minutes late. I'm sorry, what time is it now?
It is 10:34.
10:34. You were more like 25 minutes late, weren't you?
I've been there for 15 minutes.
I don't buy it.
But,
Yes.
You were in an action scene.
Yes.
Was that difficult at all, or did it?
No, the falling off the roof I didn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a stunt woman, and she was marvelous. The stuff that I did was all the rest of the shooting and all that jazz and running around. You know, I was young. I was in my 20s. I was running upstairs with 10 guns on me. I was wearing a Band-Aid, basically, for a dress. The only bad thing about the hidden was my eye got injured by a squib. A squib is a small explosive device that's inside your clothing so that when you get shot, as my character did multiple times at the end of the film before she jumped off the roof, Kyle MacLachlan and Michael Nuri were shooting at me, and so you have to learn, first of all, where the squibs are going to go off first, so the gunshots look real. So, for instance, the prop man will say, okay, the first one's going to go off on your belly on the left-hand side. So you have to go, you know, you can't suddenly go, ow, you know, on your shoulder. You're going to look stupid. So you memorize where the squibs are going to explode. And I did that, and everything was fine, but I turned my head when one of the upper ones went off, and I was wearing this jacket that had metal fibers in it, and so the metal fiber from the squib was burning hot, picked up the fibers from the jacket and went in my eye, and I burnt my retina, so that was not fun. Nowadays, I think they have slightly more sophisticated and safe things, otherwise Bruce Willis would be blind, right? Yeah, that man has taken a lot of bullets. Yeah, so I think this must have been some sort of a snafu or something, so that wasn't terribly fun, but yeah. We had a whole discussion about the hidden that you missed. I gave away secrets. I gave away prizes. Anybody else? Yes.
Being so diversified, do you recognize that you have to like shift your mindset in a way when you're like, okay, it's writing time. Oh, it's running my nonprofit time. Like the change.
Do I shift my mindset when I wear my different hats?
Yeah.
No, I've done this long enough so that I know that if I'm not in the right mood to be compassionate and loving to an individual who's asking for help with their alcohol use disorder, then I'm not going to answer that email right at that point. I've allowed myself to but I usually get up really early, like 5 in the morning, and I tackle all of my emails because they come in from different things. You have, you know, all various things. So you kind of have to do what you know you're going to be the best at that time. And the morning is my most productive time, from 5 a.m. till 11 a.m. when people start calling and action starts, you know, or I have to go do an Audible book or something like that. That's my time to get everything done so that by noon I'm done. But I know where to partition it, where to put my energy. For instance, I can't do anything at night. I'm not a night person. I'm a morning person. So I have to do radio shows sometimes on the East Coast at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and I'm like, dude, 10 o'clock, I'm in my jammies, I got my cup of tea, I'm watching Netflix maybe, or reading a book. I'm not in the mood to do it, but you have to. So that's where I say, okay, maybe I should sleep in a little that day. You just adjust. And if I'm filming, of course, it's a whole different thing, because then sleep is out of the question, because I know I've got a 5 a.m. call, and you know that feeling where you know you have to get up at 5, so you get up every hour thinking, okay, is it? No, it's only 2. Okay, no, 3:15. Okay, just because you don't want to be late. But I definitely get the most done in the morning, whether it's writing or whether it's counseling people via email. Yeah. You just have to kind of switch gears. You go from a Rome that never fell to somebody who's in need of help. It's a weird thing, but I don't know why. I think I'm a multitasker. Maybe I'm a little bit hyper, little adult attention deficit. just a skosh, just a smidge. Yeah. So I do shift gears a lot. I get bored easily. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about your nonprofit? What do you do?
About my nonprofit, the C3 Foundation. We're 5 years old as of June 12th. We just turned 5, which is very rare for a nonprofit. I started it to advocate a treatment for alcohol use disorder called the Sinclair method. And it's a treatment that doesn't involve, meetings or counseling if you don't want. You can sort of choose the way you want to do it, but it's really just you take the medication naltrexone 1 hour before you drink alcohol, and over a period of time, you no longer abuse alcohol. So it rewires the brain. The neural pathways shrink back to the normal size. So it really undoes addiction in the brain. And for somebody who wants to do it and wants to comply, then it's miraculous. It's got a nearly 80% long-term success rate, as opposed to traditional treatment, which has about a 5 to 10% success rate. So I started this advocacy because I realized there's so many people in the world, 3.3 million people die every year, 88,000 in the US alone, and nobody's getting the treatment that they deserve that's scientifically proven. There's many, many different medications to treat drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and yet they're not utilized because nobody can make any money off of them. Plus, this treatment involves drinking. So even today, if I want to have a beer or a glass of wine, I take the medication, I wait an hour, and I can have a drink. But then it doesn't spiral into me wanting 20 drinks. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lifetime commitment if you drink, and even if you drink a couple times a year, like me, you still have to take the medication, but you know, it's like maybe at a wedding, or last night I had a beer, you know, it's that kind of thing. So it's a great option for people who traditional treatment has failed or other treatments have failed. So I started my nonprofit. We provide free information and peer support. We have Facebook pages. We have an online forum. I counsel people myself. I'm a drug and alcohol counselor. And it's just my documentary, my TED Talk has been seen by over 1 million people. So it's really, really, the tipping point is coming. I always said, Dr. Sinclair, who actually created this method, discovered this method, I told him, he passed a few years ago, but I told him in person, he's in my documentary, I said, this is going to take me a decade, but I'm going to do it. And we're 5 years old, and I've been advocating, and I wrote my book 8 years ago. So from 2012 to now, that's a good 6 years. I got 4 more years left, but when I started, there was literally 2 doctors in America that knew about this treatment and were using it. And right now, with telemedicine, the United States is almost 70% covered. So all of Canada, all of Australia, we have doctors in Germany, we have France, we have Italy, places that never even knew about this treatment. And that took us 5 years of hardcore advocacy. We also have an annex in England called C3 Europe. So that handles people and knows more about the NHS. But that's one woman who runs C3 Europe, and C3 Foundation is me and my executive director, Jenny. That's it. We have a handful of volunteers, and that's it. And we reach that many people. So it's just really hard work. It's really hard work. You have to apply for grants. We rely on donations. You know, I hustle doing these conventions, you know, and that's how we survive. So it's not like, it's very hard work if you want to start a nonprofit and you want to advocate something, but I believe in it because it saved my life. So how am I supposed to keep this quiet? You know, why would I withhold this information from people who are desperate? And there was never any point in my life where I thought, oh, this is shameful, or I'm going to come out and I'll never work again. There was nothing like that. I said, I have to do this. I have to tell people. I mean, any single time you go into a room and say, do you know anybody who drinks too much? Everybody raises their hand. It's the most dangerous legal drug in the world. And, you know, I spent a month and a half in India last summer. It's everywhere. It's all over. Europe, the UK, it's you know, India, China. People are suffering all over the world. So why would I hold this secret? You know, why wouldn't I take his work, his 30, 40 years of work, and try and make it more mainstream? Because, you know, he didn't have the time or the energy or the ability to spread the word. Now I just need one massive star to get on the treatment, and then we'll be golden. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
So I've always been very interested in voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about what it was like getting into that originally and how?
Voice acting and how I got into it and how. Okay, I had a wild card. I'm considered a science fiction icon in some circles. So that opened up Disney. They were huge Babylon 5 fans, the director and the producers. That opened up Skyrim. they were big Babylon 5 fans and Claudia fans. So I would not have, I don't think I would have gotten any of the work that I do in that genre, that particular genre, like games, if I wasn't who I was. So that covers that work. The Jaguar and Mercedes and all of the campaigns like that, it's just because even when I was younger, I had this deep sort of Kathleen Turner-ish kind of ability to do various things. Plus I do accents really well. My mother's from Germany. I lived 10 years in the UK, so I have an ear for accents, so they had that. So when I was in my 20s, my agent said, you know, you have a really terrific voice, and we're opening up a voiceover department in our agency. Why don't you do it? And I said, great, and that's how I got started. I didn't have to make a reel, I didn't have to, you know, I just started auditioning, and jump cut to now 30 years later, I have a little studio in my I call it my junk room, you know, the room where you just put your workout equipment and stuff. I have a tiny little recording studio, just a little mic and a little box and my little laptop, and I record my auditions when I don't feel like driving to my agency and doing them. And that's because sometimes it's, you know, it's 2 lines or something. I'm not going to drive an hour, waste the gas and all that to screw up the environment to do 2 lines, you know. So it's extremely competitive. I get a little ticked off when I hear Julia Roberts and Kevin Costner on voiceovers, because I'm like, oh, really? You have $250, $300 million in the bank, and you're taking work away from us. Thank you so much. You know, and it's true. I mean, if you really listen for the voices, you realize, oh, that's so-and-so. That's yeah. And because it's easy money for them, you know. You do one, I mean, look at Bill Mumy, God bless him. He's been the voice of Allstate, or he was the voice of Allstate for 25, 30 years. You know, we're in good hands with Allstate, that's Bill Mumy. And he was, you know, able to send his kids to great schools, and not because of his acting career, because of the voiceover campaign. It's an amazing, wonderful job, and I wish that Jaguar never would have replaced me with a man, because that was the best work of my life. It was the best job, the best paying job I've ever had. It was the most fun job. I mean, in a way, it wasn't as fun as acting, but I could go to any soundstage anywhere in the world and do it. You know, so when I moved to England, it wasn't an issue. They have sound stages there. They just record it and send it off. So they're great jobs. It's highly, highly competitive. Every single person who's ever been told since they were young, you have a great voice. They think, okay, I'm going to become the guy who says, in a world, you know, because he's going to die someday. I'm going to take his job, or I'll be the voice of Ford. It's hard. I don't even get auditions for car campaigns anymore because they offer them to names. You know? So when you hear Scarlett Johansson and all these people doing voiceover campaigns, just go, you know, maybe you should leave that work for the voiceover actors who support themselves with voiceovers. But, you know, to each his own. And I guess it's what they call FU money. Yeah, and if it's going to good causes, then great. But, yeah. So that's the voiceover world. A lot of my friends are trying to get into it. You have to make an absolutely dynamic, amazing voiceover reel with multiple cartoon voices and characters, and it has to be incredibly professionally done. Otherwise, they're just going to go. Unless you have the most unique voice in the world, or you can do children. That's a great thing. If you can do kids' voices, because they don't want to hire kids. So adults do kids' voices. Look at the lady who did Bart Simpson. She's a gazillionaire. For gosh sake, I mean, she's like, she even drives around LA in a Bartmobile. And it says, I'm Bart on the license plate. It's a bright yellow thing and it has Bart's head on the top. I swear. I'm not telling a lie. This is absolutely true. It's quite funny. Okay, what time are we right now? How am I doing? What? Okay, so you got 10 minutes? Or 10:49, how are we doing? I have no idea how long I'm supposed to be up here.
I wish we want you up here all day.
I'm going to be up here all day? Okay. Can I get some snacks or something? Oh!
Yay!
I'm Claudia Christian. In a world!
Claudia, if you could please just take one more question. We have
about me. All right, so we're going to have one last question, folks. Let's make it a doozy. Let's make it a good one. Are you going to ask it? My fedora friend?
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah.
Can we end on a Babylon question?
You betcha we can end on a Babylon.
All right. Well, I'm fascinated by, where actors are in the process, and from the outside looking into the show like that, I think a lot of us saw it as the little engine that could, right? And do you remember the point when you and the rest of the cast realized that you had something and what that felt like?
Well, did everybody hear his question? Yeah, okay. I lived in LA while it was on, and I never could watch it because it was always interrupted by the basketball games. My parents lived in Colorado and could never see it because it showed at 2 o'clock in the morning in Colorado. So I didn't know that anybody was even watching this show, honestly. And my friends weren't into sci-fi. My agent didn't probably even know that I was working, except for taking 10% of my paycheck, because nobody was watching science fiction back in those days in Los Angeles. I mean, it just wasn't cool. This was before Battlestar Galactica. So, I don't know. I didn't know. I thought we were languishing in some ether on a television somewhere until I went to England. And that's when I never forget this. I'm getting chills thinking about it. Peter Jurassic and I are sitting next to each other. My mother is with me. We're going to the first ever Babylon 5 convention. They have a ship that comes out. We're walking, there's clouds of ice machines and smoke and amazing music and clips from the show and that swelling Christopher Franke music and I mean, literally, my mom was sitting there and she goes, wow, all these people here, Claudia. I mean, the line went for miles. People patiently, British of course, waiting in line from the building. We're all lined up, the whole cast. We're all lined up in these chairs, just sitting here, and Warner Brothers has given us stacks of photos, and we're just like, okay, nobody's gonna show up. I'm sitting next to Peter, and like I said, my mom is just hanging out, it's very funny. And she's, I don't understand, are they doing something else here? Like some sort of are they giving away some free stuff, Claudia? And I said, Mom, I don't know. And Peter grabs me and goes, Claude, they're here for us! I said, no, you're full of beans. They're not here for, oh my God. I mean, it went on forever. There were thousands and thousands of people. Then I started noticing that when I would go on the tube or something, people would be staring at me, and then I started getting recognized in England. All of us did. We were like rock stars. We were like the Beatles. I mean, it was hilarious. I went to Israel after that. Of course, I played the first Jewish character in a science fiction series. It was the same thing. People were recognizing me. So that's when I realized, oh my gosh, there are people watching this show. This is incredible. But not in America. Especially not in Los Angeles. So that's my my discovery story. I'm afraid he just cut me off, sir, but you can come to my table and ask me anything you want.
I'm an evil,
There wasn't a
evil
question?
person.
No, I was just going to say that I worked at the Renaissance Fair and we all watched your show and we were in LA. So it's not 100% true.
Yeah. No, I know some people have watched the show. I do know that, and I appreciate it greatly. And thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you guys at my table. Come by, or I'll be here all day.
Please visit Claudia. And for those of you that want to get autographs and pictures of Claudia, we've got tickets for sale over at the merchandise booth so that we can take care of that, and Claudia doesn't have to worry about any of that.
He doesn't trust me with money.
So anyway, thank you very much. We're going to have coming up is Colin Cantwell, who designed Everything You Love. Thank you very much. I want to give Claudia an extra round for our first speaker ever at the first annual IGC. Thank you so much, Claudia. All right, so we're just going to take